Hello and welcome to the Talking Yakyu podcast. I am Yuri Kurosawa, or Yakyu Cosmopolitan, and joining me is my co-host Brandon Tu, operations analyst at Sports Info Solutions and pro evaluator at Prospects Live. The 2026 season is underway now in both MLB and MPB. We will, of course, be focusing on the MPB side of things, but I do want to start this episode by talking about some graduates who left us for bigger pastures this past winter. Munetaka Murakami, Kazuma Okamoto, and Tatsuya Imai, all making their MLB debuts. Imai had a bit of a rough start for the Astros against the Angels, but Okamoto has been doing well. He scored the winning run in a walk-off on opening day, and he has already hit 2 home runs for the Blue Jays. And our guy, Murakami, for the White Sox, had one of the best starts to a career ever with 3 homers in his first 3 games. Brandon, any thoughts on this trio of players before we switch back to Japan?
Yeah, I'll start with Murakami. I think we're not as shocked as other people are in terms of like the raw power definitely translates. I will say he's running into like good pitches to hit, but like if you're an MLB hitter, like that's what you should do. He's hitting the pitches he's supposed to, and he's taking his walks too. Like I don't think the strikeout rate is. We'll see where it ends up at, but like I don't think it's like obviously, I think it's at, like, 32% right now, so, like, we'll see where it ends up at, but in terms of, like, battling and having good at bats, like, he is walking a little bit, 18% walk rate right now, so, again, it's too early to even, like, be looking at this type of stuff, really, but it is a showcase of, like, he understands the zone, and he can hit the living crap out of the ball when he actually connects with it, and, if you're gonna give him, like I think pitchers are gonna challenge him as a hitter early in the season with fastballs and see if, like, the scouting report is correct. Like, whether you're throwing 92 or 96 or 97, you're gonna challenge him with fastball and see if he can hit it, and so far, he's hit the lower velo fastballs that have been, like, in the zone for him. So, yeah, I'm really excited about, like, kinda how he's performed so far.
Yeah, I think having a hot start is so important for someone like Murakami, who I think can be very momentum based and has had struggles with confidence in the past. When he's feeling good, though, like we've seen this guy just go absolutely ballistic for weeks at a time. I think back to 2022, the entire summer, 3 month stretch where he was like Barry Bonds. Even last year in August when he came back from that injury, the first month was insane. He had that 3 homer game. And yeah, I mean, I think in terms of how he translates to MLB, we talked about it a lot. Like it is kind of this Adam Dunnish profile. It's going to be three true
Yeah.
outcomes heavy, and we're already seeing that here. Like he's going to strike out a lot, but that's fine. Like I think it's good for him to understand that this approach will work for him. And playing on the White Sox, low pressure environment. It's a rebuild. He can be kind of the focal points of that lineup. I just think it's really good for him. I did not want to see him really enter a big market where, he goes a week without getting a hit and the media is going
Yeah.
to be all on him. Like he's going to be allowed to have growing pains here. And that's good. And for Okamoto, it's kind of the opposite where he goes from, Yomiuri, one of the biggest markets in MPB, to Toronto, who's obviously trying to compete for a World Series. And he has also hit the ground running. I think I saw that he has faced like one of the highest stuff pluses from opposing pitchers so far this season.
Yeah.
So he's seeing like a really high quality of pitching early on, and he's doing really well. And even defensively, where we were a little bit wary of how he's going to handle third base full time because he played a lot of first with the Giants. I think we both agreed he's probably like in that average territory. Some people said he was, above average, and so far, still very early, but he looks pretty nice as a defender. I think.
Yeah, yeah. I wanna touch on that a little bit. I think, yeah, for me, he's like a 45, 50. He's probably more in the 50 range of a defender for me, but over the course of a season, like, how is that gonna look? I will say Vladdy has, like, saved him a couple of times on a couple of throws, but, like, that's what your first baseman is supposed to do, and, like, I will say this, he moves well for, like, a guy who can kinda get to, like, balls and kinda get to different choppers and grounders in front of him and stuff like that. So I don't ever think that was really the question for him, and I don't think he has, like, a weak arm, I just don't think it's, like, a plus arm, it's kinda just, like it's kind of a above average arm for a third baseman. So yeah, again, if he can move well, like kind of cover ground and get to balls, like that's what you want from him. And then I also say this, like just from watching MPB, like a lot of them play like closer to the back for third basemen, and like he's obviously playing farther back, and it won't be because he's trying to give himself as much room. So even if the ball's hit hard, like I do think he can like get laterally, like move left and
Yeah.
right, and he can make plays. I'm not sure where the discourse about him being like a below average defender came from because I don't think either of us ever said he was going to be a below average defender. It's more just like he was always gonna be, like, maybe average, like, in a pinch, you could play him at third base and see if he's, like, average, and so far, like, if anything, I would say he's been above average to a little bit plus, but, of course, we'll see how that goes defensively. In terms of offensively, I mean, yeah, he struck out a little bit, he's whiffed a little bit, but when he's connected with the ball, he's barreling it, he's hitting it hard. I mean, it was kinda funny to see one of his home runs be, like, an opposite field homer because like, he's barreling the baseball in Toronto, and maybe that was something we didn't touch on enough, but I know we definitely touched on it like going from Yomiuri and playing in the Tokyo Dome to then playing in the Rogers Center, another
Yeah.
domed like stadium. There's a level of comfort there, I think, in terms of like the batter's eye and just being able to like see the ball better than like maybe other hitters would translate over. So yeah, I really like what I've seen from him so far, like offensively and defensively. Like both of those guys in terms of hitters have like translated perfectly so far. Like you really can't ask for like better starts to their MLB careers.
And these are, two of the best hitters in MPB over the past three or so seasons. You obviously have, others like Teraki Sato in that conversation as well. But I think by pure production, it was Okamoto and Murakami. So for them to be translating to MLB, it's not a huge surprise, but we obviously there's going to be some ups and downs throughout the season. So good job by them. And I do hope Imai is able to turn it around, get the nerves out of the way after that first start. Now, before we begin today, make sure to follow Japan Ball on all its socials and check out our official tour provider, Extra Innings Travel, for information and bookings on global baseball centric tours to great places like the Dominican Republic, the Netherlands, Korea, and of course, Japan. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my weekly MPB newsletter on japanball.com. So now we switch gears to MPB, where the top story is that Haruki Hosono of the Hokkaido Nippon Ham Fighters has thrown a no hitter. We're only 5 days into the season, but he threw a no hitter against the Chibalote Marines in their home opener. So, I mean, what a way to start the season for the Fighters. They got swept on the road against SoftBank, the team they're expected to be competing against all year for the pennant. So that is a very rough start. But talk about momentum changer when Hosono goes out there, the young 24-year-old former first round pick in 2023. And in just his ninth career start, he throws a no hitter with 12 strikeouts. It took him 128 pitches. What did you make of this no from Hosono?
Yeah, um, he was good. Like, he was very good. I just watched the start earlier today. I was catching up on some starts that I just had, like, missed. Yeah, he was solid. Like, I mean, he's pounding the zone with basically a four-pitch mix, kinda just moving the ball around. You can see against lefties, he's, like, pushing the ball out, away from guys, and then against righties, he's more, like, kinda mixing on both sides of the plate, and you can just see he was, like, very comfortable. I will say this, we're trying to, do catcher locations at our company in terms of like MPB stuff. And so like just watching like the game and like seeing some of the catcher locations we had, um, the catcher's very much setting up middle and kind of being like, hey, let's just throw strikes here, like let's get the ball in the zone. Kind of setting up like thigh high. So I don't mind that, especially with the guy like supposed to know where you're like, hey man, like your stuff's good enough. Like let's get in the zone. Let's see if we can get some whiffs. Like I I kind of like him from, like, the standpoint of, like, I just think he looks good on the mound, like, he moves really well, and he's able to move the ball around, so he has, like, the cutter, like, the slider off of that, and then, the four seam and the split, and, yeah, his four seam and his splitter were good, and the slider was nasty, and he was able to get a bunch of ground balls too, like, you saw the ground ball rate for him, like, kinda skyrocket this game in terms of being able to get the ball on the ground, so, yeah, I mean, 41% Ks, like 12 Ks is like nuts. And then, yeah, so he walked a couple batters. I think he walked the first batter of the game. But it's like, okay, like that's fine. Like reset, make some pitches, and get yourself into a comfortable groove. And I think that's what Hosono did really well. Was like he got himself into a groove and was able to like pound the zone a little bit. I will say you do need some luck in terms of a no happening, like a no hitter happening. So that line drive up the middle, like in the ninth, it kind of like tipped off his glove and went right to the second baseman. Like yeah, you kind of need that to happen in order to throw a no hitter. So again, yeah, he had a little bit of luck. He had some people miss some pitches, but he pitched really well in terms of getting into the ninth inning and then finishing it off. It was kind of funny because it felt like he was almost in shock that he like finished it off. It was like he was walking back to the dugout like, oh, I got a 10th inning, and then he's like, oh wait, like hold on, the game's over. Like the no hitter's complete. So it was funny to see his reaction after the game.
Yeah, and in terms of strikeouts, so since 2000 in MPB, only Toshiya Sugiyuchi, Kodai Senga, and Roki Sasaki have had 12 or more Ks in a no-hitter. So Hosono is joining pretty exclusive company there. And yeah, when it comes to his background going to Toyo University. 2023, he was on the collegiate all star team that went to North Carolina. And he was my number one ranked prospect in that draft based on ceiling alone. He had, command issues, but he was a lefty running his fastball up to 98 miles per hour. So I really liked the upside there. However, on draft day, he really fell. Ends up being a late first round pick, kind of falls into the fighter's lap after they lost on a few lotteries. And I think a lot of teams ended up going towards the safety, the floor of Natsuki Takeuchi. There's
Mm,
also Hayato Tsunehiro, who went to the Carp, who, so far is not really looking that great. But then there was Hosono. That was kind of like the college big three. And Hosono last year in a small sample looked really, really good. I mean, it was a sub 2 ERA and just a handful of starts, but then he got hurt. And we talked about how deep the fighter's rotation is, and it's going to be difficult for Hosono to like establish himself and cement himself as a staple in this rotation. But when you throw a no hitter, obviously now he is firmly in that mix. And also, it's kind of ironic that the fighter's big four when it comes to Hiromi Ito, Kota Tatsu, Kohei Arihara, and Koki Kitayama, all of them had not so great starts to the
yeah.
2026 season, whereas Hosono was the one that got it done with the no hitter. And yeah, I think when it comes to like catcher locations, like you were saying, he's a guy that needs to have confidence in his stuff and just pound the zone because he has struggled with that both in college and in the minor leagues. Also, great frame job by Tamiya on the very last pitch of the game, outside corner ish, and then he gets the called strike
Generous,
on Kyota Fujiwara
generous.
to
Yeah.
secure the game. I think that was also a big relief for Kotaro Kiyomiya because he made an error on the second to last
Yeah.
play of the game at first base. It would have been obviously really bad if that error costed him the no hitter. But I do want to actually transition then to Kiyomiya, who has been going absolutely supernova so far early in the season for the Fighters. 4 homers in 5 games, leads MPB. It's an OPS over 1200. Um, Kiyomiya is a former Little League World Series standout. They gave him the nickname like Babe Ruth back in the day.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's thrown around a lot, but he was a two-way player. At the time, he set the high school home run record in Japan. It was since passed by Rintaro Sasaki. But yeah, Kiyomiya kind of was a bust early in his MPB career, had completely lost his standing on the team under Hideki Kuriyama. But once Shinjo came in, told him to lose a little bit of weight, maybe get a little bit more athletic,
Mm.
I think he's been a completely different player. He's kind of been reborn. But last year, I think he was almost like selling out for contact, which sounds weird, but he was like this kind of in between point where he wasn't hitting for that much power, but he was just like an okay kind of contact guy. I want to see this guy's like raw pop come through. And so far this season, I'll let you jump in here, but I think he's been doing that.
Yeah, no, he has. I wanna ask you real quick, what draft was he in? Was he in, if I'm not mistaken, was he in a draft that was, like, was he
Yes.
in the
So
Murakami
he's
draft? He was in the
Yes,
Murakami draft, right?
2017 draft, the big three of high school sluggers that year was Kiyomiya, Murakami, and then Hisanori Yasuda. Obviously, Yasuda for the Marines hasn't really worked out anymore, but
Yeah,
Murakami and Kiyomiya were kind of this, you know, big race for a while. Murakami was out of a lesser known school down in Kumamoto. He's a
got you.
catcher, but obviously Murakami like really surpassed him pretty quickly. Kiyomiya, it's taken him a little bit of time to get going, but now almost a decade removed from that draft, he's still very young, obviously, 25, 26 years old, and becoming a core member of this fighters lineup.
Yeah, I guess I wanted to kind of ask that for like a timeline standpoint. Like sometimes guys who early growth spurt or like early domination in like let's say like little league and like that type of age, then everyone starts catching up to you like, growth wise and you're not
Yeah.
the strongest guy in the field now and like it can kind of come back. But even then, like going into the professional ranks, like maybe you're just putting too much pressure on yourself as this like highly valued, highly touted person. Like if you're hitting that many home runs in high school, like clearly you're talented and can do stuff on a field that other people can't do, but it's just about, like, finding the comfort and finding the relaxation, and, like, when I watch him, I'm like, I really like his balance in the box, I like his leg kick, I like how he can, like, get his foot down, and it's clear that he has bat speed, like, if you see the bomb that he hit on pull side into into the right field, like, he clearly has bat speed, so yeah, I like when he gets his foot down early and is like able to like translate that power, through the baseball. I will say sometimes he probably lands on his heel a little too much, like his front heel a little too much, and kind of like bells out on pitches. But I think that's because he's like kind of sailing out for power right now and kind of trying to hit the ball as hard as he can. And so again, to your point, like if you have that much raw power, if you have that much game power even to, like, be able to hit the ball hard and you have that much bat speed, like, I'm okay with you selling out for a little bit more power if, like, it's gonna cost you, like, a couple of whiffs here and there, a couple of strikeouts. Like, again, I think the best version of him is to chase that power output and then kinda hit the ball as hard as he can to his pull side, and we kinda saw that with a couple of his home runs, like, he's really driving the baseball to his pull side. So I like that right now for him. And then also just getting him off at third base, like, I just don't think he was a third baseman, so, like, getting him to first base, yes, he had the air in that game, but, like, overall, I think he's moving better. He just looks lighter. Obviously, it looks like he's lost weight, but he just looks, like, more athletic and lighter on his feet, like, even from watching him, like, 2 seasons ago. He just looks like he's moving a little bit better, and also, you can just tell, like, the smile after, like, home runs, like, it's like he's enjoying playing the game right now, and sometimes when I saw him, like, 2 seasons ago, it's like he wasn't really enjoying playing the game because he was struggling kind of. So, yeah, I think he's been really I think he's been awesome. He's been one of the best hitters in MPB so far.
Back in 2021 in the minors, he hit 199 with 19 homers, a WRC plus of 84. So again, at that point, he's just completely bottoming out as a 21-year-old, and did not look like he was going to be ready to take that next step at the MPB level. But 2022, he tops out at 18 homers. But I think there were still some pretty big flaws in his game. And 2 years ago, 2024, the second half is really when we finally saw him put it all together. He had an OPS almost of 1,000 in the second half. I think he had zero homers literally for the first 3 months, but then like July onwards, he had 15, ends up making the Premier 12 team for Samurai Japan as well. But again, 2025 was kind of awkward for him. He only got to 12 homers, and he wasn't really barreling the ball as much as I would like to see. But already in 2025 or 2026, again, very small sample, but we are seeing some noticeable changes in the approach. His chase rate is up 7%. His swing rate is up 2%. So he's more aggressive. Yes, that's come at the cost of swinging outside the zone, but I think a little bit of that is okay, and you're going to see that normalize a little bit after this. His contact rate is down 25%. That I don't want to see, but a little bit of that is okay because his hard hit rate is up 24% and his pull air percentage is up 22%. So again, he is just embodying this hulking slugger a lot more than he was last year. And I think the fighters really need that in the middle of their lineup. They have Chusei Mandami and Framil Reyes, who have also been hitting the crap out of the ball early in this season. They got Shun Mizutani. This is a really potent lineup, and They've hit
Yeah.
13 home runs in 5 games. We have teams like Hiroshima that have hit zero. So this kind of power surge, even within, you know, the dead ball era, like we'll talk about it later. Maybe we're starting to get out of it a little bit, but even so, the Fighters and I guess to an extent the Hawks are one of these teams that can hit in spite of the ball because one, their home stadium is very hitter friendly. And two, they just their approach, I think, is built for the modern game. They're not afraid to swing and miss, and they just have guys who are able to barrel the ball.
Yeah, I think overall, just from like a standpoint of being able to barrel the baseball and stuff like that, like I think we're just seeing like guys take more comfortable swings now in MPB. I don't know. Guys, I saw like Jorge Polanco, like or Gregory Polanco, sorry, kind of like mishit a fastball and be like, oh man, like I should hit that. I just think in some aspects, I'm seeing like cleaner swings from guys and guys trying to hit for pop. And I will say, in terms of like the balls themselves, like I don't know, part of me thinks that like yeah, it feels like a little bit livelier. So I don't know how you see that, but like going back to Kiyomiya, like the one he hit to right field and then Frammo Reyes hit one out and it was like, okay, like opposite field shot here. So it's like I don't know. I'm kind of in on the balls being livelier. I'm kind of in on guys swinging with more confidence, but I'm kind of interested like what you think about that in terms of like does it feel like that in terms of stuff, or does it feel like guys are swinging with more confidence? Because that's
Yeah,
kind of my overall take in terms of like things happening. I still think the ball's like moving a ton as pitchers, but like I do think they are like coming off the bat a little bit hotter than they have in
yeah,
recent
yeah.
history.
I mean, let's hit on both of those things. So yeah, I think early in the season, first or second game, Bobby Dahlbeck had a fly ball to center field where I'm like, based on what I've seen in MPB these last 4 years, that's going to be a fly out to center field, but it actually sailed out to dead center. And I do think part of the problem, and Andrew McCutcheon has actually tweeted about this in regards to the MLB ball over the past 2 years. There's inconsistencies with some batches. I mean, that's just going to be naturally the case when it comes to the sewing of a baseball. And we see some games just produce no power at all. We saw in spring training, like Miguel Sano crushed the ball to his pull side and it just died. It had an exit velo of only like 93 miles per hour when it looked like he hit it a whole lot harder. And we have seen, like, for instance, when the Dodgers played the Hanshin Tigers at Tokyo Dome in spring training last year, and they were using, the different baseballs, you can measure just drag coefficient, and the MPB ball is significantly worse. But so far this season, I mean, league OPS across MPB, it's still pretty low. I mean, it's 675, but that is up like 25 points from last year. The league ERA is 3.4 ish, which is up, you know, point 0.4 from last year. And I think another thing was early in 2025, we just did not see opposite field homers at all. The balls were just not going out the other way. And even
Yeah,
players like Murakami were commenting on this. They're like, hey, the ball just feels different. Like, I'm hitting it well, but it's dying out there. I don't think it feels as egregious anymore. Again, there are still inconsistencies, and I think there are obviously, you know, days even in last year, like especially second half, where the balls did fly well. I just want to see a more normal run environment, where the pitchers are punished if they make a mistake, the hitters are rewarded if they do something well. I think we're getting closer to that. I know pitching is ahead of hitting in MPB. That's just a fact. Pitchers are better by on
yeah.
the whole than hitters. So it's going to be the case that it's a pitchers league no matter what. But to me, we are seeing a little bit more offense early on. And yeah, go ahead.
No, no, it's just we're seeing more offense going on, and like that's I kind of want to bring that back to like Kuribayashi's like or like near perfecto. Like I think you can actually buy into like Ryoji pitching well. Like you can buy into like that aspect of it because you're like, okay, the ball's like flying a little bit. Like, yeah, like there might be a little bit of luck inside of a near perfecto and stuff like that. But like for me, I think I can buy into like pitching performances like right
Yeah, yeah,
now, like early in the season. So like a Hosono or like a Kuribayashi. So I can kind of buy into that stuff a little more. So that's why I kind of wanted to touch on that, even though I might be jumping a little bit farther down in terms of like when we want to talk about stuff. But I just think it's a good combo to have in terms of like I think the ball's being a little bit more livelier and just maybe moving a little bit more too is like helping out the pitchers obviously in terms of like movement and stuff like that. But going back to like a Kuribayashi like Near-Perfecto, like I can kind of buy into that performance and be like, okay, like let me watch this start and like see what's like actually going on. And then like you watch it and you're like, oh, like he's moving the ball around, like he's actually like pitching really well as like a guy who's comparing from the bullpen to starting. So that's kind of why I wanted to like have that combo right there because it's like I can kind of buy into some of these performances. I don't know if you want to keep touching on some stuff, but like yeah, like for Kuribayashi in particular, like I kind of buy into that like almost perfect game because like
Yeah.
I think he pitched really well. Like
Oh
yeah,
yeah, I mean, he was exceptional. Ryoji Kuribayashi, first career start ever for Hiroshima because he's been a closer his entire career coming out of industrial ball, won Rookie of the Year back in 2021. There he was neck and neck with Shugo Maki. He ends up going 9 innings, 1 hit, 8 strikeouts. It's a 95 pitch Maddox. It was only a bloop
crazy.
single by Seiya Hosokawa to start the eighth was the only um, damage against him. And what stood out to me about this start was he didn't really change all that much of his mix compared to when he was a
Right.
reliever. And uh, we've spoken about this when it comes to like Levon Moinello back when he made the conversion 2 years ago. I do think relievers that have like the deeper mix, and by deeper I mean 3 or 4 pitches as opposed to two, they're going to have a much smoother transition because it really just comes down to at that point, managing stamina, managing fatigue, getting creative in situations where you typically wouldn't have to, a closer's not necessarily always used to having a lot of runners on base and consistent traffic. But in this case, Kuribayashi had basically no traffic the entire day.
Hmm.
So it was kind of smooth sailing. And for him to work his way back into the ninth inning where he has been his entire career and then finish the job with the shutout. I mean, what a way to put an exclamation point on the start of his season.
Yeah, I think like the cutter was really good. 54% CSW percentage. He threw it a lot more to lefties than he did to righties, but the cutter was really good. Yeah, that day. And so I just in my head I'm like, man, he kind of has 4 pitches, and like you're saying, like if you have a 4 pitch mix, and yeah, you're converting from the bullpen to starting, but I'm kind of in on it. If like you have a 4 pitch mix, you're able to kind of move it around. And he was clearly throwing enough strikes because you can just see from like the CSW percentages, like how many strikes and how many call strikes, how many whiffs he was getting on his pitches. Like actually, his four seam didn't get that many. He was at 21% on his CSW percent for his four seam. So it's like his fastball wasn't really getting that much. And I think he was kind of like up and out of the zone, but then he was kind of using that tunnel to like work the cutter off of it, and then he's like working the curveball into the zone, and then he's working the splitter off of that as well. So yeah, I just really like the way Kuribayashi was pitching so far, and yeah, I'm actually kind of excited about some of these pitching performances.
And it felt sustainable to me because he was down 2 miles per hour on basically all his pitches. As a
That
reliever,
makes
he was
sense.
92,
Yeah.
93 on the fastball. On Sunday, he was 90 on the fastball. But that again, to me, that's not like, oh, I have a big adrenaline rush. I'm just pumping heat and I'm dominating guys. This felt much more like, hey, I'm embodying what it means to be a starter now. And I will say, when he was making this conversion, when I heard he was getting stretched out, I didn't love it at first because you look at his strikeout rate going back to 2021, it has been on a steady decline. He debuts in
Mm,
2021 40% strikeout rate. This guy is an
yeah.
absolutely filthy reliever, really dominating with that splitter. But then it goes down to 32%, 24%, goes back up to 31%. And last year, 26% strikeout rate. I mean, that's really, really good. But we see some relievers in MPB, up to 35%. So I think his swing and miss ability has actually been a little bit on the decline. Now, you could say, hey, the balls are dead. Some pitchers actually do. I think cater to that and pitch to contact a little bit more. But for Kuribayashi to succeed as a starter, I do want to have see it like a baseline level of strikeouts. And
Yeah.
if he can get to say 22, 23% strikeout rate this year as a starter, I think that would be an enormous achievement. Let me ask you this. Do you think Kuribayashi, based on this one start alone, and a little bit in spring where I think he looked solid, is he the best starter for Hiroshima? Because Hiroki Takota was kind of like how he always is on opening day, which is to say, keeping runs off the board pretty effectively, but giving up like a lot of contact, a lot of hits. Masato Morishita wasn't all that great. And I'm just not that big of a fan of like Daichi Osera at this point in his career. Freddie Tarnock, I will say, we talked about his cut right fastball in the past. He threw 7 shutout innings in his MPB debut as well. So if we're just going off recency bias, it's like Kuribayashi or Tarnock. But you do have to give some respect to Morishita and Takota who've been doing it for a
Yeah.
while.
I think I think Marie should, I almost wanna say he's still the best, I just wanna see more from him. We've talked about this in the past, just the way he, like, cuts the ball, the way he, like, moves it around. He kinda throws it, like, in between cutter, slider, like, slutter. Um, I really hope he, like, kinda bounces back because 'cause I've seen him, like, be really, really good, and then I've seen, like, lower end stuff. I think Tarnock is interesting because of, like, the cut ride pitch or just, like, cutting the baseball a little bit. So, I am interested to see if, like, that holds and, like, that actually sticks, in terms of that stuff. But again, because the baseballs look a little bit livelier, like you can almost like buy into it a little bit because it's like, okay, you can't just like make a mistake anymore. You can't just like throw a middle fastball and expect to get away with it. I didn't see a ton of that opening weekend. Like I just didn't see guys like missing middle with the fastball or like missing with the splitter or a changeup up. Like those pitches were getting hit like out or they were getting hit for like doubles. Like so I can kind of buy into like some of this early stuff. In terms of best, I would still go Marishita, but Kuribayashi has been really, really good, and I actually am very excited. I might jump on the train early. If like the next start he's like really good, I may be like, okay, now it's time to jump on the hype train. Like he might be a top 30 pitcher in MPB, you know?
Yeah, I think I'm willing to say Kuribayashi will finish the year as, I don't know, he's not going to be their innings leader, but I think he will have the best rate stats, and that to
Okay,
me
yeah.
kind of speaks to his talent. So Kuribayashi, that near perfect game, that was his first career start, first career shutout, obviously. But how about Alan Curry, who's thrown a ton of complete games in his career, 13 to be exact, including 8 shutouts. He threw a 12 strikeout complete game shutout on the second day of the season on Saturday. So that's a career high in punch outs for him. And it's actually also his first double digit K game since May 19th, 2022, back when he was with Hiroshima. So now he's with Oryx and yeah, looked really, really good against Rakuten. We've kind of touched on Curry before, but I don't think we've really had the opportunity to like dig into who he is as a pitcher. Just because he's not one of these guys that absolutely blows you away with stuff. He's very much kitchen sink. He's very much like junk ball type, um, but also just like super unique, super unorthodox. I feel like in just the way he spams that changeup and his
Yep.
fastball. Right, his four seam fastball is just really bad. Like it's hard to have success as a professional pitcher with a fastball that I think is genuinely bad when it comes to, I'm not saying just velocity wise, where he's like high 80s at best. That pitch just does not get him any swing and miss. So he has to hide that pitch. And I think he did that beautifully, where, he has this wide 7, 8 pitch mix and he was just mixing and matching really, really efficiently.
Yeah, it's 7 to 8 pitches, but it's, like, a lot of different variations, and I don't even think they get tracked. Cause like, I'll mention this now, I'll bring up my Roger Clemens, like, baseball or whatever. So he throws, like, a splitter, like, with, like, his 2 fingers tucked, but then I've definitely seen, like, a split change where he kinda puts the 3 fingers together and kinda throws it, and he'll throw it, like, in the same at bat, he'll throw, like, a splitter from, like, the higher arm slot, like, say, 3 like, high 3 quarters, and then he'll drop it and go like lower arm slot. So he's throwing from like different arm slots within the same at bat and like different like variations of like off speeds, like back to back pitches and stuff like that. And it might be like a mile and a half difference in terms of like the pitches, but it's like the spin looks a little bit different, so it's just throwing hitters off. He truly is like kitchen sinking out there. I mean, he has like the sweeper, he has the cutter, he has the four seam. He was throwing a lot of sinkers, like a lot of sinkers. Like he was throwing kind of front hip sinkers to like where he's like starting it to a lefty front hip and then trying to bring it back. And then he was also like backdooring it to righties as well. So it's like he can throw like a sinker glove side like that, but then he can also like shove it into right-handed hitters like you would expect a sinker to kind of be shoved into a right-handed hitter. Like that's where righties are gonna throw a sinker. So for me, like he's just moving the ball all around and, like, mixing and matching, and he kinda lives in, like, the 83 to 77 mph range in terms of, like, his mix, but then he can, like, sneak in, like, the 89 mph four seamer or the 90 mph four seamer, so I think that's super fun when watching a guy like him. It's just kinda seeing him move the ball around, live in this, like, lower velocity band, but then, like, sneaking like a 89 mph fastball by a guy as a right-hander, like, to me, that makes you like a super fun pitchability pitcher, like a guy who just
Yeah.
becomes super unpredictable to like kind of game plan for and to hit against. Like Max Fried in MLB on the left-hand side, like that guy has basically become like the ultimate unpredictable pitcher. Like I don't think anything in his mix is like above 26%. And actually, if you look at Curry, I think the only thing he throws like a decent amount is like in that start he was throwing like 53% of his split change splitter to left-handed hitters. So again, like he's mixing and matching these other pitches and inside of this like changeups or really these two different changeups, two different off speeds that are really good. And again, I think that's like the meta that's gonna start like going across baseball is like different off speed pitches. It's not just like one splitter or one changeup. Like you're gonna see guys starting to throw multiple different variations, and I think Curry like kind of leans into that as well in terms of throwing different off speed variations.
Yeah, we saw, Sarah's talk about that when it comes to the MLB side of things, like Kevin Gosman a few years ago mixing in like a splitter and a changeup. MPB pitchers love to do that, I think.
Yeah,
Chihiro Sumida, obviously, like most famously with a really elite changeup
Kazuki
and splitter.
Azuma throws like the
Yeah,
three different
Azuma is
versions.
another great
Yeah,
example, and yeah, when it comes to Curry, and by the way, I will point out to people, first name Allen. I always get asked like, is he half? And yes, he is has a father who is American, I believe, so that's where that name comes from. But I just think it's super underrated when this guy debuted back in 2014. He has over 1,400 innings under his belt now,
that's
and
crazy.
his
Yeah.
ERA plus for his career is 104. So we're talking about a little bit above average for this much of just being a Chad innings eater, as Foolish Bailey has called him, called pitchers like this. I think that is just super underrated. And it's also just fun that he throws a knuckleball every now and then, right?
Yeah, the knuckleball was really fun that he like I asked you before we started, I was like, I'm gonna go find a knuckleball. Like tell me what pitch it is. And then you see he just not even close to the zone and you can even see him shake his head like, oh, that one missed. Like, it's okay. Like well, let's regroup and throw a change up here. So yeah, I think it's really funny when guys like can drop those type of pitches in. But yeah, he has like a normal curve that's like 120 kmph, whatever that is, and then like a knuckle curve that's like 109 kmph, and then he throws one that's even like slower than that, like 100 kmph. So again, he has like three different versions of curveballs and two different versions of changeups, or three different versions of changeups, and then he has like multiple different fastballs. So again, yes, he has 7 to 8 pitches by like pitch tracking standards, but really it's like 9 or 10 different pitches. And it's kind of crazy that he can like manipulate speed on pitches and like kind of throw batters off that way. And again, like he drops his arm slot too. Like he'll drop his arm slot one pitch and then bring it back up and then drop it again later in the batter against another batter. Like he'll just give guys different looks. And I think that's like super fun from like a yeah, again, if you're a Chad's innings eater from the right side, like if you're only gonna throw 89, 88, like yeah, you better be doing something different in order to throw off timing and mute guys out.
And when he signed as a free agent with Oryx last year, at first I was a little bit surprised because that's a team with a lot of pitching depth. They believe in the young guys, so I'm like, oh, you really want this like 33-year-old veteran? But I mean, he has now become such an integral piece of this rotation, especially as they deal with a lot of injuries. To guys like Shunpei Yamashita, Ryuhei Sotani was on the WBC team, so he's been a little late. Hiroya Miyagi, our guy, was not good on opening day.
Yeah.
So Curry has been really important to kind of stabilize the floor of this rotation, and also Anderson Espinoza last night, his teammate, also with a complete game shutout, the first of his career in MPB.
Yeah.
So we are seeing some of the, you know, unsung heroes of the Buffaloes getting it done early in the season. But I think it just shows you like the ceiling of this rotation remains incredibly high if Miyagi, Sotani, Yamashita can stay healthy and get back to their A game.
Yeah, definitely. And part of me is thinking like, yeah, I want a guy who I know I'm going to hand him the baseball every 6 days, or I'm gonna hand him the baseball every week and be like, are you gonna make your start and are you gonna go 6 to 8 innings? That I mean, that's Alan Curry. Like, that's who he is like, you're gonna hand him the baseball and he's gonna go 5 to 7 innings probably, but he can go into the 8th, he can go into the 9th. You talked about how many complete games he has so far in his career is 13. So, he clearly can go deep into games, and I think that's very valuable for teams, and that's something that gets overlooked in, like, all of baseball, not just in PB. It gets overlooked
Oh
in
yeah,
MLB and overlooked in KBO too. It's like, if you can hand a guy a baseball every week and be like, "Yeah, dude, like make your starts," like guys who make their starts and eat innings like that and like actually perform, like that's why Dylan Cease got paid what he got paid. That guy makes starts. That guy posts every single time he's handing the baseball, and like that actually
yeah.
matters. That means something.
It rests the bullpen, which has a domino effect for the rest of the
Right.
series. Yeah, I mean, to your point, Curry last year with Oryx did not fail to complete 4 innings in any start, and he only failed to go six on 6 occasions. So it's
Okay,
like
that makes
almost
sense.
every
Yeah.
single start is at least 6 innings. Um, and now let's talk about some other complete game shutouts from the early part of the season. Haruto Takahashi for the Hanshin Tigers. That's his first complete game shutout since 2021, which is a big deal because I mean, this is their glass ace, right? From the left side, a guy who has not
he
cleared 50
he's
innings
very
in a
talented though.
season for the past half decade. But yeah, very talented. I mean, I had him 11th on my preseason MPB pitcher rankings, mostly out of the belief that, hey, if this guy does stay healthy, he is one of the best to do it. And also Kaima Taira, like Kuribayashi, converting from a closer, in his case, reconverting because he had already done that in 2023. So I didn't have as many questions because he did it seamlessly last time. Also dropped out of the WBC in order to kind of focus on doing this. And I mean, 9 innings. It was only 5 strikeouts, but I think that is pitching to Tyra's strengths as well because he can also kitchen sink. Like when he's a reliever, he can just run the fastball by you at like 98, 99 at times. But I think Tyra is this kind of hybrid where he can pitch the contact. He can keep, he can be a
Right.
soft contact machine. He can work deep, and he very much did that. That was his first complete game shutout of his career. So really excited to see what Haruto Takahashi and Kaima Taira does the rest of this season.
Yeah, I'll touch on Tyra. I think watching that start, he like, yeah, he sprayed the ball a little bit, like had some command issues, but overall, like I think for the most part, he's understanding where he can put his pitches and where he like needs to put certain pitches. So when he's throwing like an 87 mile an hour like gyro ball, like or gyro slider like down in the zone, it's like okay, like I can get this pitch like down, I can bury it, beneath the barrel of guys, and then I can throw a sweeper, off of that. I can throw a changeup off of that. I can throw a four seam up. Like against left-handed hitters, he's trying to get the four seam up. Where against right-handed hitters, it looked like maybe he's targeting like more like, down and in against right-handed hitters. And again, he's throwing the sinker off of that four seam. So it's like he's throwing them in like the same spot. And it's very interesting to like see like how he attacks hitters. Like I don't think it's the same game plan every single time out for him. I think it's one of those things where I think it's really fun to watch him pitch because he can like have his B stuff and still get outs, or he can like completely flip a game plan where it's like, okay, you've been thinking about like he's gonna throw this sequence or this or these type of pitches, like, that's what he's done all season. And then he can go out there like based off his bullpen. It just feels like based off his bullpen, he can kind of go with like whatever is like working that day and like whatever like feels comfortable for him. So that's why as a reliever, you would see him throw like these all these different pitches. You throw like 7 pitches. And again, we were like joking that it was like in protest that he wanted to be in in a starter's role, but it's also like maybe it's just like he gets in a bullpen and he's like, man, the slider feels really good today. Like let's just rip a bunch of sliders, or like the four seam fastball feels really really good. Like let's go like four seam up. So yeah, I'm excited to see like if he keeps that like deeper mix as it goes on in this season in terms of like being a starter. I think he will, and I think he'll continue to do like, man, the gyro slider feels really good, or like the sweeper feels really good. Like let's go to that pitch a lot more against righties. So that's like when it's fun because, like you're saying, he can like he can get guys out based off of a bunch of different things. Like he doesn't have to rely on like one skill set to get guys out, which I think makes him like a number 4 starter, number 3 starter if he ever decides to come over to MLB. Because I think he has that adaptability, that kind of like pitching brain to kind of think about
Yes.
pitching a little bit different than other guys.
He absolutely has like some of the biggest smarts when it comes to pitching in all of MPB, as well as just probably the world, I think. When it comes to, he's very short. I mean, we're talking like 5'7",
Yeah.
and obviously he has the famous line, "If you can't grow vertically, you have to grow horizontally." So he's pretty, stocky to say the least, very strong lower half, and gets down low for that, flat vertical approach angle, and he gets a lot of extension as well. I also just think, oh, and I will point out, like, I think Houston reporters heard from Tatsuya Imai this week that Imai picked up his football throwing routine
Yep.
from Taira. So he does a lot of that. But I personally just love, I buy into guys who have basically never failed. I was this way with Levon Moinello. Taira,
Mm.
for his entire career, we're talking, goes back to 2019. Obviously, it's in multiple roles. 1.88 ERA. It's an ERA plus of 197. So we're talking, he is two times as good at preventing runs as the average pitcher in MPB. So he's done it as a closer. He's done it as a starter. We'll see if he can stay healthy this year. I guess that is one of the question marks, especially for a guy that's undersized. He got hurt in 2024, which is one of the things that led to him being forced back into the bullpen. But yeah, I think if Taira wants to go to MLB, and this goes for his teammate Kona Takahashi as well, I do think we'll see it eventually. Now, Kona, you know, he pitched yesterday, and I saw the velocity was up a little bit, but still, in terms of the overall like package, I don't think it's quite there. Part of that is why I wanted to actually see him even get a minor league deal when he was posted this past
Yeah.
offseason, just because change of scenery might benefit him. Not that Cebu, is doing a bad job with him, but I just think like he could have used some new eyes on him. But I think there's a very good chance that Taira and Kona will both join Imai stateside in the coming years.
Yeah, I'll touch on the football thing real quick. I think people were a little bit shocked that he was like throwing a football, but for me, like, I think Amaya even talked about it. Like when reporters asked him through his translator, it's like you can't cheat throwing a football like far. Like you can't cheat like the distance you throw it. So it has to come off your hand a certain way. It has to spin a certain way. And so that's why like you'll see guys like warm up with a football because it's like you kind of have to repeat the same motion, the same like throw every single time. And it just gets like the body moving and the body ready to like throw whatever object it is. So I do think it's like kinda cool when you see, like, that kinda stuff happen, but, like, guys throwing footballs, I think is like, I think Imai even said it, like, that's becoming, like, more of a thing over in, like, Japan where it's like, let's just find an object that we can, like, get ourselves, going in terms of being able to get our body loose and our body warm and stuff like that, and then also just the feedback, like, the real-time feedback of, like, "Okay, I threw that spiral and, like, it wobbled a little bit, like, I need to fix this so I can get to, like, this type of spiral," and stuff like that. I'll also say for a guy like Amai, maybe throwing like a spiral like that or throwing a football can help him like kind of get to that like gyro, get around the
Yeah.
baseball, kind of help him like work on getting around the baseball and stuff like that, and kind of help him sweep the slider a little bit when he needs to. Because again, he's throwing that reverse slider gyro ball. Like we both commented on it. Like I checked, he was getting some that had like 14 inches of like arm side run, and it's like okay, he's throwing sliders where he's, like, not even behind the ball, he's, like, on the other side of the ball,
Yeah.
basically, is, like, what he's doing with it. So, again, I just think it's really cool to kinda, like, see, Taira influencing him that way. But yeah, we kind of see Taira is always thinking about stuff at a higher level than maybe some other people are.
That transitions well to Kenta Maeda, I think, who I also
Yeah,
want to touch on because Maeda is another one of these like pitching savvy guys. Famously with his like I don't even know what it is, like the
it's like the
whirlwind like
arm
arm
thing.
spin,
Yeah.
yeah, the pregame warm up. And I just think he, understands like pitch shapes really well as well. Um, First MPB start for him in 10 years. So since
Mm.
2015 with Hiroshima. After that, he went to the Dodgers, then the Twins, then a bunch of other places. He's back in Japan, 37 years old, with the Rakuten Eagles. And his first start back was a little bit shaky. It was 4+ innings, 5 hits, 2 earned, 5 walks, 4 strikeouts. The 5 walks you're just not used to seeing because this guy is usually really pinpoint with his locations. I think it was kind of nerves for him. I saw the splitter and slider kind of spin, kind of slip out of his hand, kind
Right.
of overthrowing a
Getting
little
used to
bit.
it. Yeah.
Maybe it's kind of weird to say that like a veteran 37-year-old had nerves, but I do think when you're a player of Maeda's caliber coming back to MPB, everyone's paying attention. You want to make a good impression. So I kind of just I think that's a one-off. Like I don't think Maeda's going to be like elite this season by any means. I mean, he clearly doesn't have like the stuff to really, strike a lot of guys out anymore. But I just think in this MPB environment, he can thrive still as like a, you know, middle of the rotation guy. He has a lot of pitches. And when it comes to Rakuten needing him to be one of these like horses, alongside all these new guys they brought in, like Jose Urena. And we'll see what Naoto Nishiguchi can do as a starter. Kosei Shoji rather was
Sochi looked good,
awesome.
by the way. Yeah, he
Yeah.
looked good.
Oh man, Shoji looks like a top 10 pitcher right now. Like the way Shoji looked on opening day is how I felt about like Tatsuya Imai 2 years ago when he started the season against Rakuten with a bunch of strikeouts. It's just like the no walks part. We're for a guy
Yeah.
that's like struggled with command for so long, with
He's
the
getting
swing
the
and
ball
miss
up
ability.
too. Like, he's getting the ball up, they're targeting up with the four seam and then, like, dropping the big curveball off of it. So, yeah, Soji looks really, really good. To kinda go back to Maeda, kinda interesting that I was watching the start, kinda interesting he didn't throw any fastballs to right-handed hitters. I don't know how many right-handed hitters he really faced in that lineup, but, he threw a couple of fastballs, but not a ton. It was mainly slider split, to righties, and then the three, four seam slider split to lefties, which again he's like dropping in the curveball every now and then against lefties too. Like, he has a deeper mix, but it's like really for him it's about like moving the baseball around, and again just like kind of using like this like 82-mile-an-hour like slider sweeper kind of pitch, and then like an 85-mile-an-hour splitter off of it, and then touching like low 90s with a fastball. So I'm kind of with you. I don't expect him to do like a whole lot, but I do expect him to like give them some innings, like figure it out in terms of like calming himself down and maybe even working through the nerves a little bit. I do think it's kind of hard and kind of interesting to see like guys come back to a league after being in MLB, and it's like, okay, they're stars. Like we kind of saw that like Hyunjin Ryu last year with like Hanwha and KBO. It's like this dude's been a star. It might have been like 2 seasons ago that he came back, but it's like
Yeah.
he's been a star, and then it's like this dude, we kind of, we want him to pitch, in KBO, and it's like you just know his name. Like everyone's like, oh, like this is Ryu. So it's like it's the same thing with Maeda. It's like everyone knows who he is. Like everyone knows that this is the guy, and it's just interesting to kind of see him like fight through those early like struggles and fight through those early battles. But I do expect him to be like, I don't know if you agree with this, but maybe like I expect him to be a league average pitcher. Like I almost expect like an ERA plus around 100. Like I just do. Like I think he's gonna figure things out. I think he's gonna like do his thing in order to get like an ERA plus around 100 basically.
Yeah, yeah, and I think he could be even better. The
Right.
difficult part of the equation, of course, is that the last year, 2 years in MLB in the minor leagues, he was getting kind of hit around a lot. He's also, dealt with
When he was in the
multiple knee
majors, he
injuries in
was
his
a
career.
bullpen guy too. He's like a swingman. He
Yeah,
like really wasn't
so
being used.
I do think like the mental side of that can be difficult too to kind of reset. But back when he was with Hiroshima in the early 2010s, he won 2 Sawamura awards, he won 3 ERA titles. I mean, this guy was legit. He was not like I'm not saying he was Masahiro Tanaka or Yu Darvish. Like that was a different level of elite. That's like one or two tiers above him. But when it comes
Right.
to the Central League, Maeda was the guy. And I think about like another former Carp, Hiroki Kuroda, who stayed in MLB, into his late 30s, and then came back and had 2 more years in MPB where he was very effective. Maybe not quite as dominant as early in his career as the stuff kind of faded away, but I think Maeda can still give you know 2 or 3 more years of being a productive pitcher, and that would be like a really nice way for him to go out. I almost want to, I just brought up Darvish, and that made me think like it really makes me sad that we probably will never see Darvish again. I mean, maybe pitch at all, but let alone an MPB. Like to
Right.
me, one of the kind of dream outcomes for Darvish was going to be like he's such a pitchability guy, deep mix, pitches into his 40s with the Padres, and then comes back and pitches for the Nippon Ham Fighters for 1 more year. But given like just how destroyed that body is, I don't think
Yeah.
we're really going to be able to see that anymore. So
Pitches
I
on
do
the
want to
same team as his
cherish.
son. Yeah, like his like
Yeah,
him and
we're
his
right. Like
son
pitching
pitch
with his
together.
son
Yeah.
who's in college now. So yeah, I think it's important to kind of cherish when guys like Maeda come back. It's unique to be able to see a guy like this who's done it at the highest level in both leagues. Um, and so now I want to finish off by just we already talked about how dead or maybe less dead the MPB balls are this year, but I did want to touch on the kind of characteristics, the movement profiles of it as
Yeah.
well, because now that we have MPB Plus, where we can see TrackMan data, we really get like a good sample of how different the MPB ball acts compared to, say, the minor league ball in the US or the MLB ball. Now, obviously, in the US, you have the MLB ball and the MILB ball that's a little bit different. The minor league ball is like made in China, whereas the other one's made in Costa Rica, and the seams are a little bit different. The
Yeah.
seams are
And
higher,
I
I think, on
think
the minor league ball.
triple A, they use the MLB ball, but
Right.
between levels, like double A to single A, it's like a different ball. And then even like, yeah, down that, it's like a different ball too. So there's like different balls in between like levels. But yeah, like the the manufacturer is like China basically. It's like the idea. Yeah.
Right.
So
And so you have like clear differences there in just the construction of the baseball. And I think a lot of pitchers coming up, they get used to throwing, slightly different types of balls. Obviously, a baseball is a baseball, but the MPB ball, for those that don't know, the seams are higher. It's pre-tacked, which guys pitchers love because you can just grip the hell out of it and manipulate it. It's kind of like, having a natural version of like spider tack. Um, and and it's a little bit smaller. So the movement profiles that we see out of pitches in MPB are just so exaggerated. We were comparing Forrest Whitley. This is from one spring
yeah.
start compared to his AAA numbers. Using the MPB ball, Whitley was getting 3 to 4 inches more ride on his four seam, 2 to 3 inches more horizontal movement on the four seam, and then on like the cutter, he was getting 6 to 7 inches more ride on that pitch, as well as like the breaking balls, like his curve, slurve. They just get so much more depth. So if you're thinking about like a pitch plot that you might see on Baseball Savant, MPB pitch plots are just like even more exaggerated when it comes to the movement, and I do think that contributes as well to the um, how much of a pitching league MPB is. It favors pitchers. They can really do a lot of things with the baseball. They control it better. The walk rates are down. You're not worried about hitting guys. Um, I think that also probably like takes away some arm stress as well, which is a positive aspect of that. I would say when you don't have to grip the ball as hard to be able to control it.
Like Tyler
But yeah, give me your
Glasnow has
thoughts
talked
on
about that.
that. Yeah,
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 Glasnow has kind of talked about like how he has to like grip the baseball different because they like took spider tack away, and then he was like it kind of led to his injury, or like that's what he thought it led to an injury for him. So yeah, the ball is interesting. Like that's why I was in on Forrest Whitley because I was like, I was looking at his pitch plots in like AAA and even in MLB, and I was like, this is gaudy. And then I was thinking in my
yeah.
head like, if you translate it over, it's gonna be like absurd. Like it's just crazy the type of movement guys can get. I think that's why Hiromi Ito, like, we'll see if he like gets his fastball back in terms of, like, the velocity, but also in terms of, like, the movement. Because like, I know me and you have talked about it, like, you'll see him throw fastballs 4 seams where it's, like, 24 inches of ride, and anyone listening who's like an MLB guy, you're thinking that like 20 plus is like elite. It's like, yeah, the guys in MPB are getting like 24, 22 inches sometimes. But like
Yeah.
what Rogi Sasaki was doing in like 2022 and 2023, like he was getting like Garrett Cole like type of movement on a fastball at 101, 102. So it's like he was getting like 20 inches of vert. So again, if you just yeah, like I just think it makes it incredibly hard to hit guys sometimes, and that's why it's a pitching league. Like I mean, again, I think obviously they're different like environments, different ways of like they play baseball, like different styles of baseball, but that's also like I was talking to someone about this, today. It was like with Shota Morishita, it's like you can't just like look at whiff and K rates and be like, okay, so that's like his K rate in MPB. Like when he goes to MLB, like obviously the K rate's gonna like move up or move down or like whatever the case is. Like I personally think like yeah, the K rates might go up a little bit in terms of just like the stuff is better. But I do think like overall like pitch movement sometimes in MPB, like I don't know. I don't always buy that like the K rate's gonna like skyrocket all of a sudden when a guy goes to from MPB
It
to
it might be
MLB because of that.
harder to barrel pitches in MPB, honestly, as a
Right,
hitter.
yeah, that's a good point too. Yeah, so it's like barreling pitches even. Yeah, I mean, but so let's put it this way, like with Murakami, like when he hit a ball like off the end of the bat, or there was pitches where he would miss hit stuff and he would hit it to like the wall, and it's like the pitch is moving so much in terms of like a sweeper or like a fastball or whatever the case is. It's just like in MLB, like if he gets that same pitch, like he's just able to like he's not hitting it like this far off, like quarters of an inch off, and it's like that changes everything in terms of being able to barrel stuff. So, like yeah, that's an awesome point because I think people just look at the league and they're like, man, it's a pitcher league. Like the offense sucks. I can't believe guys have 600 OPSs, but it's like they have 600 OPSs because the ball's been dead. Like it's the deadest ball I've ever seen in my entire life. It can be a marshmallow sometimes, and then also the ball just moves a ton. Like you can just see it when you're like watching pitches. You're like, holy crap, that Hiromi Miyagi like sweeper just moves like 22 inches, and then
Yeah.
and then you have like the data from MPB Plus now like backing up like what you've been seeing with your eyes for like 2 or 3 years. So yeah, I think it's a real thing, and I think it's something that needs to be talked about. And I think didn't Chris Langan like do a conversion thing where he like talked about the conversion from like the MPB ball to the MLB ball? I think people need to like take that stuff into account more often when talking about like pitchers and MPB and like how they can succeed and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure, like, pitch movement differences, ball differences, strike zone size differences. Another thing I'll throw in here is that up until, like, 2010, I wanna say, MPB didn't have a standardized ball, so, like, every team could use whatever manufacturer they had.
It
Then they
sounds like
changed it to
basketball or football. Yeah, it sounds
yeah,
like basketball. Yeah.
which I don't think is good, but then they went to Mizuno, and I will say, like, that's good that they standardized it, but I think fans have been a little bit frustrated over the past 2 decades as to the lack of transparency, where, 2011, 2012, the balls are, like, super dead, historic lows in offense, and then 2013, they quote unquote "juice it," where Valentine hits 60 homers. And then, now, like, we don't know what's really going on with the balls, like, did you change it? Did you not change it? So all of that just contributes to a lot of confusion. But now that we have like the pitch tracking numbers, that does help a little bit. Last thing I want to ask you today, because you brought him up, where is your worryometer at with Hiromi Itoh, who gave up 3 home runs in his season debut? I think it was 5 earned runs. You know, First inning, the velo was back. It was like 93, 94, but then it started slipping again. He is struggling to maintain his velocity. He's in the low 90s. We saw this in the WBC. That Wilyer Abreu home run is going to haunt him for a while. Are you worried about the reigning Sawamura Award winner?
You're gonna get me in trouble. I'm going with 5. I'm like 1 out of 10. I'm going 5. I'm going down the middle. I'm slightly worried because it's been like a prolonged like 3 or 4 weeks of like the velo isn't back yet. It just doesn't look as good. Eh, I don't want to speculate or anything, so I'm not gonna like throw things out in terms of that stuff. But yeah, I will say this. This isn't speculation. This is just me like thinking about things from like a thought process. This man has thrown so many innings the last 3 seasons, and so it's like maybe it's just like the innings total is like catching up to him. He just needs to like take a little bit of a break or, give himself get himself like a little bit looser in terms of like being ready for the season and stuff like that. I'd be really interested to see like next time out if all of a sudden he's throwing like 94, 95 again, like he's touching 95. Cause like that's what was really special about last season for him. Is that yes, he was going like 91, 92, 93 for most of the game. But then like when he really wanted to like step on the gas and like throw hard, he was. He was stepping on the gas throwing 95 sometimes. So like that's what really like kind of pumped me up in terms of being like, yeah, he's the best pitcher in Japan right now.
Yeah, with
Like he
the
can do
great shape
things
as well.
right, exactly. With the great shape, he was throwing 95. So he's throwing like 95 miles an hour with like 21 inches of movement, something like that. So again, like that's a great fastball. Like that's a plus fastball. And so it's like, yeah, am I worried slightly? Yeah, of course. Because like I think this has been like a month of like, man, is the stuff back or like it just doesn't look as good. But I will say this, like he's Hiromi Itoh, like uh, maybe shouldn't be that worried about. It. Maybe it should be like a 3 or like a 2 because like again, this guy is like posted every single year. Like every single year he like comes out, he posts and like he does his thing and like I think that's what's been like really special about to watch for him because I'm trying to remember like if he hasn't really posted that much. I feel like he always does. So again,
Oh yeah.
I think he's gonna get back to like kind of where he was at the end of last season. Like I know Japanese fans are upset about the WBC, but like I think everyone can be objective in saying he's one of the best pitchers in MPB, and that makes him like one of the better pitchers on the planet. So again,
Yeah.
yeah,
It
I'm kind of there with him.
I'm slightly concerned when you compare him to, like, say, Shosei Togo's decline last year. It was kind of a similar thing where a ton of innings and then, like, a velo drop. Maybe some dead arm or fatigue of some kind. But also, yeah, like, when it comes to Ito being he's a bit more of a second half pitcher in previous years. Like, he's always been better in the second half, so this has been like an unusually bad early season, but I will give him the benefit of the doubt for now. But yes, shout out to the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks. They are 5-0. Also, the Tokyo Cold Swallows, big surprise. They are currently
Hey,
4-0 to start the season. But yeah, I'll leave it at that for this first episode of the MPB season. Brandon, where can people find you and what are you up to the rest of this month?
yeah, people can find me at my handle on Twitter at Brandon Two Weets. So my first name, last name, and then EETS at the end. So yeah, if you wanna find me there, I'll be tweeting some stuff. I'll probably put some stuff out about Alan Curry because I was watching his start today and I was like, man, there's so many grips, there's so many different things he's doing. So I might put something out about him. And then yeah, just working my way through the MPB top five. I'll probably get that out before like the end of April, before like I would say middle of April. I'm definitely gonna work my way through that. I've actually already posted. If you want to check it out, I posted on Prospects Live. Scouting report on the Von Monello. Monello is one of my favorite pitchers in like the entire world. I'm excited to see when he gets back to MBB and starts throwing for SoftBank again. Yeah, he's super talented, and I really enjoyed doing that deep dive because he's one of the better pitchers. And then yeah, I'm gonna have Miyagi coming out, and then Atsuki Tanaichi, and then I'll probably end up doing Yamashita, even though maybe the sample size for Yamashita is gonna be a little bit smaller than other pitchers.
Yeah, we'll see if Yamashita can come back late April, early May. That seems like the timeline for now, which is good that it's not like a bigger injury. Knock on wood. You can find me at Yakyu Cosmo, as well as my website, yakyucosmo.com. And I am writing for Japan Ball, World Baseball Network, and Just Baseball pretty regularly about Japanese baseball. So please check that out. Thank you all for watching and listening. See you guys next time.